however much experience you get, I think most people feel this way, is it's that you're on that like tightrope of slight fear that it might not work out,
right,
and slight excitement that you don't quite know how it's going to evolve. So like I like to do quite loose sketches for clients and stuff. I don't go super detailed into the pencils or anything, and I just have like the rough color and here's where things are, because I want the sketch to be exciting where I can then maximize the time I'm going to spend on the painting. But yeah, within that there's a certain kind of fear in a way, but I think you need that because it's that you need that anxiety to kind of keep you going somehow. It's like if you were just fully complacent and okay, I'm doing this and it's going to be exactly like this at the end, then I think you'd lose interest actually as well. So you might be you'd have less anxiety.
Yeah, it's weird.
But you'd be,
it's weird.
You'd be pretty.
Welcome to your local Cineplex with your friendly neighborhood hosts, René Gomez and Zak Dennis.
Welcome back to your local Cineplex. This episode is really fun. If you missed last episode, we had the great Rich Davies here on the podcast. I had loads of fun talking with him. It was very fun. Very informative. Really was fun to just have a great conversation with a fellow illustrator, and one who, from my perspective, has made it and is seasoned in his career. So it gave me a lot of great insight. And I would have to say the same thing for this episode you're about to listen to, because today's guest, we have the great Sam Gilbey. Horrible with pronouncing names, so I hope I said his last name correct. Forgive me, Sam, if I didn't. He's on this episode. Super happy to have him on the episode today. So I'm going to shut up and let us get to the actual good stuff. So, Sam, thank you for joining us on our little podcast. I hope we live up to the hype.
Thanks for
what hype?
I didn't know about the hype, but
yeah.
I am very happy. Thanks for inviting me, and happy to talk about like whatever you want to talk about, my art and movies and all that stuff. So
yeah. So you, of course, you mentioned you listened to a little bit of our past episodes. Which ones have you listened to? Just curious.
Well, I've just so far been checking out, because I know Rich Davis.
Right.
He's a lovely guy, great artist. So I've been checking that one out. But and I also listened to you guys talking about Arrival and Courtney Martin's lovely piece that she's done for that. So I'm gonna investigate more of your back catalogue for sure.
Yeah.
Renee's like, yay.
I'm like, finally.
Yeah, finally someone. Yeah. It's interesting of kind of how our show has been evolving. Because first we were like, let's like react to these posters, and it almost kind of like, listening back to it, it was almost like I feel like I was a bit negative. let's change it a bit towards more supportive.
Cool. I think it's interesting because even any kind of poster, whether it's like an obvious like alternative movie poster that is maybe a piece of fan art or even a licensed print, or even something made by a studio, someone somewhere has put some love into that, hopefully. And obviously, not everything in terms of the studio system and the marketing turns out great. But like you say, I think just you got to look at these things as that, there's a huge marketing machine behind these things. And I know from experience, even making a relatively small poster or work piece of key art, for instance, you can have lots of input that, as the artist or designer, you're trying to kind of channel that and make sense of the feedback to the point where it doesn't break what you still want to do with it. So there's always good intent behind anything, I think. So, but not everything can turn out perfect either.
Right. It's that's what kind of like Rich and I talked about. I'm grateful for the Poster Posse and what the Poster Posse is doing for the industry, for the art that you make, Rich make, what I want to make, what we feel like fans want to see. They don't really want to see a Photoshop floating head poster. They want to see the cool stuff you're making. And so I'm glad the studios, thanks to Poster Posse, what they're doing is studios are kind of waking up to this and going, okay, yeah, we may want to keep our main campaign, but we're going to open up these opportunities for these other artists to do these other campaigns to go alongside it.
Yeah.
And so
no, exactly, and they can just coexist, I think, and that is what's nice about what the Poster Posse are doing and have done, but also elsewhere. And I think it's like it all kind of came out of 20 years ago, maybe 15, where it was artists were frustrated by, why are these the posters that are being used for the marketing of whatever movie? Wouldn't it be nice to go back to, it's a bit of a romanticized idea, but, obviously I love the hand-painted posters. I can see that, it doesn't always have to be that way. And you can have a graphic design poster, that's not hand-painted as such, that can still be beautiful. But just having an artist's vision and spin on things, it's just going to give it more life and more warmth and more, hopefully, originality. But yeah, what started out as this kind of, this kind of fan art culture, and then like through the kind of galleries of like Gallery 1988 and so Hero Complex, and of course like Mondo, then that started to kind of feed back in where the studios are seeing this stuff that's happening. And obviously, we're in a lot of cases in their right to object to it in a way, and even, send out cease and desist letters if someone's selling a load of fan art and everything. But actually what's happened is, obviously that has happened, but what's generally happened is they've seen a way to kind of bring the artists into it. And, so it's been amazing for lots of us to get to make licensed prints either for new films, in the case of more of the Poster Posse type stuff, so it's part of the marketing campaign, or work with galleries like Bottleneck Gallery, Grey Matter Art, who have some licenses themselves, and then create artwork for like a classic movie. So it's I've always wanted to kind of be part of that world, and I started out doing the gallery shows, which are mostly like unofficial pieces, and then that's gradually led to doing some licensed stuff, which is like I say, kind of was a dream for me. So I'm really grateful that I've got the chance to do it.
I applied to be part of Poster Posse, so I'm still awaiting my either acceptance letter or rejection letter. Because
you got to keep knocking on the door, or not that door, but any door, and I mean, for me it kind of goes in phases of like I really wanted to do the like Gallery 88 shows and like Crazy for Cult and stuff like that, and I was applying to them for years, not hearing back, but then while I was doing that, I started working with some cinemas in London, doing artwork for events and screenings that they were doing. And through that, I built up a series of pieces that then they were like my way into the gallery shows, because I built up a body of work that then made sense as a portfolio. And then once the door, opens a bit and you get invited to like a show or two, then hopefully other galleries see you, and, so it can kind of grow quite organically. But it was definitely for me a case of like, putting the time in, building the portfolio. And, for most people, that's going to be the case. I think you've got to have like between 10 and 20 pieces that at a glance work really well and show your style. Because I always think of it like anyone you're showing your work to, they've got like 3 seconds. They're going to judge it within, 3 seconds. You kind of need to have just that, you need to consolidate it down. And it can take years to get to that point where you have that consistent look and, you've ironed out some of the kinks in it and it's kind of working together. And also, the fact is, even when you get to that point, it's a continuous process. So I always, you want to look back on stuff you did a few years ago, and if you actually don't want to be happy with it, in the sense that if you're not happy with it, that means you moved on. And if you were happy with something you did a few years ago, or even a year or two ago, it means you're kind of like, you're not pushing forward.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because you talk the portfolio and how you want to find your style, and you want to have at least 10 pieces that show that style. And it's frustrating because I come from the designer world. I started as a graphic designer first. It's pretty much what I still do. So it's like you're almost trained in the design world to like have a bunch of different styles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then it's like, it's the opposite. It's like, no, you want to at least have a style you're known for, so you get those type of jobs.
So it's like, okay, so that's pretty much been my challenge. Is okay, forcing myself to stick with the style, find my style, which I think I have, and push forward with that.
But that's it's a continuous process, and it's like a lifelong kind of challenge in a way. But I also had a graphic design background, so I was in the early days of web design. But back in those days, that was super creative, and in a way, there was a big culture within web design of like doing stuff that was like almost like a signature style, or you would deliberately be going to do something quite out there because then you're going to share it with the community and like, well, look at this cool thing we did, whether it's a particular use of typography or a color scheme or or even an animation when obviously like Flash came along, things like that. So then I was doing that, and then gradually over time it made more sense that everything moved towards user experience, UX, and web design became much more about function rather than form, which was great. I agreed with that, but as like I guess at that point, a kind of frustrated artist, I became less interested in it. But yeah, when you're doing a UI layout for a website, you're not putting your signature on it,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
But luckily, I was working on my artwork stuff at in kind of parallel because I was always freelance, and then gradually I ended up the artwork was taking up more and more time to a point where I could say, right, let's just do the one thing now.
Yeah, that seems.
But it's a different mindset, of like, you've got to go from doing whatever the brief says. You have to kind of also do that, but then hold on to your style. But for paying the bills, that can change. I've earlier on in my career, I did artwork jobs where I was not exactly doing my own style. It was a bit of it was halfway there, but so it's all about, you've got to do what you got to do,
Right.
But over time, you hopefully get to a point where you have a style, and that is what people want to pay you to do, and you don't have to do something else just because it's a kind of a cool client you want to work with,
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge that I think it seems like a lot of artists face, and because there's not a lot out there to tell you what you got to do, and so it's just about meeting people, like us meeting each other and talking, kind of, okay, this is my experience. This is I experienced this, and so kind of just figuring out as a collective, and so that's
sure. I mean, the other thing is so nowadays any artist is up and coming or wants to get somewhere, they're kind of growing up in public on social media with their work, right? But I'm from a pre-social media age where even though most of the stuff I've done has been kind of within that, I'd also had, a good number of years to build up to at least be heading in a trajectory of, where I thought I wanted to go. So I'd already built up a body of work. So you're not starting at zero. Whereas now, if you're you want to be an artist, set up an Instagram profile for your art, or even include it within, your own personal one. And, all your stuff is out there, and it's it's so hard not to be influenced by how many likes something gets or whatever,
right.
and the fact is that, and a lot of that, I mean, I love pop culture, and I love drawing superheroes, and whether it's for fun or hopefully getting paid, but that's what I would do anyway. But you have to, if that isn't exactly what you want to be doing, you've got to be careful that that doesn't just kind of conflict with having what is your actual style. Like if you do something that isn't a superhero, but it's in your style, the reality is you're going to get fewer likes on it if it's not a popular property. But as a kind of up and coming artist, you have to have that mindset of it's just making the work that's important, because every piece is improving, honing, and finding your way, and you have to try and put it out of your mind, the fact that, you're putting this out there for anyone to see it, or as is often the case, for no one to see it because the algorithms won't show anybody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because it's not Star Wars or whatever,
My first thought of him saying that is it's like how, I think, was it 2 weeks ago, we talked about Bride of Frankenstein and the posters for that and how much we adore those, but it's you kind of like how Sam said, realistically, people aren't gonna go out looking for the Bride of Frankenstein or the Wolfman, because that's just not what's popular at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, there's a niche for any kind of part of fandom. There's fans out there, but as you kind of obviously you work hard to grow your own following or whatever, and then if you're releasing a print, say within your amount of followers, how many people are going to be shown the piece anyway? because the algorithm is going to decide who sees it and who doesn't. And then, but how many people are into that thing that you're doing a poster for? So, it's just not, so obviously the more popular the character, the more likely there is to be an audience. But, but equally for anything you do, it's within popular culture, there's people out there. It's just going to be harder to find them. But, for anyone trying to do that, then just spend some time. There's often like great Facebook groups for most of these things, or for everything. So if you've done a piece that you think would appeal to those people, or I guess Reddit as well, get it out there, and or Instagram, use those hashtags and find accounts that are into that stuff. So there's an audience, but equally, I think I'm saying that on one hand, and I'm thinking, but then really as an artist, that's just sort of wasting your time, or at least, what's the value of that versus just making another piece? Because if you think back to a commercial artist working, let's say Drew Struzan, making his posters back in the 80s and 90s, he was never thinking about that stuff, right? He was just obviously he was incredibly busy, but he would just have a schedule of like, this poster's got to be done by then I'm onto this one, and that's all he was thinking about. And obviously we're not in those times now. The point is like, we all got to do social media, but I think it's easy to get a bit, as we all know, it's easy to get too distracted by it,
right?
And judge our kind of self-esteem and our worth as artists from it. And I say that from experience, knowing that I do that too. It's kind of impossible not to, but hopefully as you get more experience, you get a bit better at just put something up there, then you got to walk away. The most important thing is the next thing you're doing is really all that matters, insofar as anything matters.
It's really a balance. In a way, it's like social media. Like for me, I mostly use Instagram, and those hashtags can help you, but I agree 100% with you of like, no, just produce work, and the more you produce, the more it will be seen, and the right people will see those things. And like people like Poster Posse or any other kind of collective out there who is looking for artists, they'll see your work, and because you've been just producing, you've gotten better, and that will lead to another thing. Versus, like you said, if you're just so focused on the posting and am I getting enough likes, am I using enough hashtags, that can so easily just make it worse for you, or just mentally too, and be discouraging.
Yeah, it drives you crazy.
Yeah.
And it's also, I think it's about, it's literally just a case of what can you control, and that's making more art. What can't you control? How many people see it? How many people like it? But if you, I still like, I think if you make good stuff and you make enough good stuff, then people will find it. But the trick is not to sweat it too much. But it can take. I guess the point is, some people may have, well, I wouldn't call it luck, but like they might have a quick success based upon a cool piece that goes viral. But I would still say that's the rarity. For most people, it's years of work and years of improving. Then, of course, if you discover someone because their piece has gone viral, and they're new to you, you've not seen the years of work, right?
Right.
So it can. I think the other thing that can be hard is you can see something else you've never seen before, and it's like, whoa, that's whatever, that's had hundreds, thousands of likes and loads of retweets, whatever, and that can just be that. But that's
absolutely. I feel like I always hear that story of the piece you least expect to blow up is the one that blows up, and the one you're like, oh, this is my magnum opus is the one that it'll get attention, but not nearly as much as you thought it would.
That same experience here.
Totally.
I'm just gonna keep this going.
It's like in your head, you want it to be like, well, I spent 30 hours on this, so this should get X number of retweets,
right.
Or this one only took me 2 hours. So, but like it obviously doesn't go that way.
Poster I did for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I was just really kind of just messing around with my style. I didn't think much of it, and that's the one that's like my most popular of people who purchase. I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm glad people love it and want it. But if I'm like completely honest, I'm like, well, I find problems with this. It's like I know what I was. That's not like René said. It's not my magnus opus. It's like it's still raw. But yeah, people see it and they like it, and
totally. And once something is out there, you have no say in, so unhappy, or like you might remove some pieces from your portfolio, say, if anything is out there, occasionally that will pop up, and someone might tag you, which is obviously a nice thing. But sometimes it's like, oh yeah, I wish that one wasn't out there anymore. But that's
yeah.
You gotta. But then again, it's like every you have to get through every piece to get to the ones where you're happier.
Yeah.
For me, like every single piece is, I mean, you might agree a sketch for the client and then, you're working on that. But like, I kind of like the fact that I don't quite know where it's going.
Yeah.
Within certain parameters, I still, however much experience you get, I think most people feel this way, is if that you're on that like tightrope of slight fear that it might not work out.
Right.
And slight excitement that you don't quite know how it's going to evolve. So like I like to do quite loose sketches for clients and stuff. I don't go super detailed into the pencils or anything, and I just have like the rough color and here's where things are, because I want the sketch to be exciting where I can then maximize the time I'm going to spend on the painting. But yeah, within that there's a certain kind of fear in a way. But I think you need that because it's that you need that anxiety to kind of keep you going somehow. It's like if you were just fully complacent and okay, I'm doing this and it's going to be exactly like this at the end, then I think you'd lose interest actually as well. So you might be you'd have less anxiety.
Yeah, it's weird.
But you'd be
it's weird.
You'd be producing less good work, I think.
Yeah. Rich kind of was saying the same thing last time of like he still faces that fear of like, can I do this? Can I deliver what the client wants? And so I was like, wow. I mean, it's like he's pretty seasoned into his career, and yet he still finds that he meets this. And so I wonder if it's that same phenomenon you're speaking of, that anxiety of like, can I do this? It's that tightrope we walk to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And like one of the things I really like is in one way, when you're doing a piece, if you're doing the client, the dream is kind of to have no feedback, right? Well, they just go, that's perfect, I love it. That's nice, but actually I do like it where as well.
Yeah.
And if a client suggests something that will actually improve it, or they give you a note about maybe something isn't quite working yet, because I also will share work in progress most of the time. I don't just like agree on the sketch and then disappear and then here's the final thing. I will be quite open and say like, oh, here's where I'm at so far. I'm still working on this and this, but here's an idea of where it's going. Yeah, so it creates more of a kind of collaborative way of working. But it depends. That works well with some clients, not so well with others. So so a new client is kind of exciting in a way, but then it's also like you've got to just sort of feel it out a little bit. And you don't want to open it for like a can of worms of like where suddenly you're inviting loads of extra notes, right? But if you involve a client, then hopefully you get a nice balance of it being collaborative enough where they're having some input into it, but you're still holding all the creative cards, and like making the decisions.
And does it allow you to kind of like control a bit when you decide to bring them in? So you bring them in early in the sketches to where versus further along they have a crazy hair idea of like, how about this? You're like, no. This is baked in.
Yeah, no, totally. And I always sort of have it. So I'll agree within a contract, or at the very least, like in writing and in my invoice, like where possible, always get a client to give you some of the money up front, say 30% if possible, or 50-50, something like that. But yeah, I bake it in of like, there's going to be, within the sketch phase, you can have, for the budget we're talking about, you can have like up to 3 changes, which could be a total 180 and do a totally different approach, or it could be an evolution of the thing you first present. Then once you're committed to that sketch, that's kind of what the client's going to get. So if they say, oh, can we add like another character or another thing, then they're gonna, that we could maybe can do that, but that will cost money. And if they want their 180 and they want a different idea, then of course that's a whole different, that's like different. We need a different agreement, another sketch. So that's a whole separate project. So the idea of agree on the sketches and make them like as loose as possible, but with as much info as you can get in there, because it's like everyone's committed then. You can do it from this, but there's enough room for you to kind of evolve it and just figure a few things out. Because if you figured everything out by the sketch phase, then it's like, I feel like, well, you're only going to be adding a little bit of detail to finish it. So you don't want to get too far into it.
Right.
So have a bit of flexibility, but make it clear this is where you're going. And then hopefully then you get to a point where the final piece is just like a really beautifully painted evolution of what they knew they were getting. So it's like, if you squint at the sketch, this is what it's turned into. And hopefully that, in most cases, that avoids them going, well, I wasn't expecting this, you know. But also as you build up a body of work, and that's the other thing about having a body of work and a consistent style, is like they can see from other pieces where things are going to go. I mean, I've sometimes, when a client's seen like a really rough sketch, I've shown them you know, and I put these up on social media from time to time, like a before and after of another piece, because I want them to see like this one started out like this and ended up like this. I think that can be a good way to kind of just show that the contrast is going to be big, but equally everything important about it, the mood and the atmosphere and the composition, is all in this, you know, this rubbish drawing here.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah.
But that's where the value is of any artist. That's the value, is in that rubbish sketch, right? That's all the problem solving and, you know, all the ideation that you've done it there. So that's the hard bit in a way. But it's also the easy bit, because obviously that tends to come to you fairly quickly, or with experience you get quicker at knowing what's going to work. And then the actual painting is the horrible bit. It just takes forever. Obviously depending on the artist's style, but I guess someone like me, and for Rich as well, who you had on, you know, our stuff takes a while because we're rendering it and we're painting things in quite a lot of detail. So the beginning, the idea is fun, final stage, the last few hours are fun, and then there could be like weeks in between of just this is horrible. So hard.
I just got over that hump a bit. I mean, it's still it's still in that middle stage, but I just got past that hump where I got one character looking like the character likeness is there. I'm like, okay, I see Andrew Garfield. That looks like him. It may not be 100% like a photograph, but that's the whole point with these type of, you know, that's what people like about is there's that, you can tell. Yes, not a photograph, it's not 100% looks like them, but that's the quality of portraits like that. Is the likeness is there.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I know, like floating heads, when they're photoshopped, gets a bad rep, and I know people don't necessarily like that in painted posters either, but I mean, I really do, but because to me it's like, because when you're building the collage and you're finding the reference, obviously the photos can be from all over the place, like different lighting, different lenses, I guess, and you know, it's like so that's to me why like the Photoshop marketing campaign never looks right. But when an artist takes that different source material, but when it goes through their brush and the way that they paint, that's how it all kind of comes together and is cohesive. Yeah. And you do see some good Photoshop posters these days within that realm. They're getting a lot better. And again, you know, there's creative people working on those, and you know, they're doing the best with the photography they've got and everything. But yeah, there's still, I feel, something about giving it to a painter. It's just going to make it feel more cohesive. Yeah. Right. But yeah, I never want to go photorealistic either. But yeah, sometimes people, you know, you get the comment of like, oh, that at first glance I thought that was a photo, which is kind of obviously that's meant as a compliment. Right. But I always feel like, I just need a few more brush strokes that you can see in there, you know, because yeah. But that's just an aesthetic thing, and you know, I like to work in detail. And the fact is, as you work on a piece and as you kind of hone it down, your brush gets smaller, therefore everything gets more detailed and more blended in, so it's going to look more photographic. So, but yeah, I think it's like that's where, but in those collage pieces, like I say, that's where it can really sing. Because you get this nice, it's just one artist, all those, it's as if the same photographer had taken all the photos on the same day and the same lighting, and you know, that's the painter's job, is to make it look like that happened up to a point. Yeah,
I agree, because to me, floating heads are okay, but as long as you can mix in a bit of like little vignette moments to where it's not just heads, it's, you know, maybe a torso or it's a scene or a pivotal moment, you know, that can be included. That just adds it a bit nicer. And that's one thing that René and I talk about with the Photoshop posters of he'll think he'll go, oh, looks like it's a nice photo. I'm like, René, they didn't have all those actors on set at the same time photographing it, and it breaks his heart to know the actors weren't there. I'm like, no, they probably shot these actors whenever they could schedule them, and then it's just photoshopped together, and they'll paint in light. They'll paint in the light to make it look like it was in the same environment. I mean, I get the positive of that, of like being able to produce something like that when you can't have everyone together. I
was just gonna add that, like, I've been in that situation because I do a lot of video editing where they'll give you assets And sometimes you're like, do you have more, like something more I can work with? And sometimes they don't. And you just have to make the best you have with what they give you. And that's why a lot of these posters, I'm like, yeah, they did the best they could. But kind of like what you mentioned, Sam, something I think about these illustrations is for me, they just feel more organic when someone does it compared to Photoshop, because like I know with your artwork, you put a lot of time and effort and you did that by hand, and that you could just feel that when you look at the poster. And that's what I love about it. That's what I love about looking at all of these artists and these illustrations, is how organic it feels. Yeah,
totally. And I think for a lot of us, like we all grow up loving movies, and movies speak to us and communicate with us. And it's a very human thing, the movies is escapism, right? So I think a good poster can sort of achieve that, like that same thing, and I guess I think if you think about, well, my probably favorite poster is Tom Chantrell's Star Wars poster. Because I just remember seeing it as a kid, and it's so evocative, and it does the brilliant thing of like the way it varies the scale of things. Darth Vader's big, and you got tiny spaceships, and it feels like as you look around the poster, you're kind of imagining all these different scenes, and you're seeing this galaxy far, far away, and it's just so I just kind of fell in love with that style of poster back then, and but yeah, it just kind of connects with you in the same way that the movies do, in the same way that John Williams' score does,
right?
So when a poster's done well, it can have that same. And also as well, how often you're going to watch even a movie you love, you might only get to watch it once a year if you're lucky, more likely every 2 to 3 years, maybe every 5 years.
Yeah.
Whereas, a poster that you can have on your wall is a way that it's like a portal into the feelings that film gives you. But, you get that within 1 second. You don't have to spend 2.5 hours watching the whole movie. I'm not saying that posters replace movies, but like,
no,
it'd be kind of placeholder.
Can give you that feeling. Yeah.
That actually leads to a perfect question, because so I completely relate to that. There's a lot of movies I love, but I can't watch them all the time. So I have a bunch of movie posters in my room, and some of them are like, you can't see it, but I have like the Muppet movie, Back to the Future, Godzilla, and then all the Universal monster film posters. Because those are just some of my favorite. I get to see it every single day, and I just feel that warmth. And I'm wondering, Sam, if you have any movie posters that you have in your house you just love to see every single day.
Good question, yeah. Well, my two favorite Drew Struzans are Blade Runner and Back to the Future.
Yes. Yeah. We have something in common.
I have those as like 24 by 36. Like just when they've recently, some of the galleries have done screen print versions of those. So I have those. I mean, I'm not really a huge movie poster collector, partly because I love too many of them.
Yeah.
So and obviously a lot of friends and peers doing amazing work. Yeah. And the truth is, I'd love to own more of them, but then I've got a family, so I don't really. Don't really collect. Obviously, people collect them because they're an investment and all that stuff.
I will say,
there's so many great stuff.
The hardest part for me is like choosing, okay, what am I going to put up? I had Close Encounters for the longest time. And I was like, okay, I think it's been a year. I think it's time to switch it out. And that always hurts my soul whenever I have to see one of them go. So totally relate to that. Zach, do you have any?
I don't have the room for them, but it would definitely be the Goonies poster from John Alvin.
Yeah, Goonies is up there like with me, where you just kind of get that sense of adventure immediately just by looking at it.
Drew's Struzan's E.T., the hand.
Yeah, that's magic.
Yeah, that one's magic. And to know that's his daughter's hand in the...
I didn't know that. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, well, I love Drew's Goonies poster as well, like with them all hanging off the stalactite, whatever it is. The one of them, the one of them hanging down is Drew.
Yeah, right.
Where they're all in a column, yeah. But yeah, I just love that, but to make that, he got like all the kids in the street to like hang off a ladder on a house opposite. So
what?
because I knew that he worked from restaurants, but that one blew my mind. It's like, well, how did he achieve that? Because there's no way that he had those photos right from the studio of them actually doing that. So but like, if you don't have the reference, you have to go out and make it. So sometimes you don't have the pose that you want, so you've got to find some similar clothing and try and get the lighting close enough to like the face reference you're going to use, and then make up the body from there, that kind of thing. So that's all part of it too, because you can't always just get exactly what you need. And in the case, that was obviously the case for Drew as well. Like famously for his Back to the Future poster, he was able to go and photograph like Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd, with the whole DeLorean. Well, the DeLorean wasn't there, but they were able to do the rest of it. So he was able to set up the lighting himself. I mean, that's like, obviously that would just never happen now.
Right.
For us little artists doing, an alternative movie poster or even a licensed thing. But, but the point is, you might have to do something like that for yourself if you've just got the face that you need,
Those guys were rock stars, man. It's the stuff they were able to pump out.
Yeah.
It seems like they kind of run into the same problems, I hear, at least when it comes to assets. Because I was shocked that Rich, when he was doing the Ghostbusters Afterlife, that they really gave him nothing. Other than the trailer, he had nothing to go off of.
It's really hard, because you think, if you're doing a piece for something new that's coming out, obviously you want to have something in that no one's seen. But like sometimes you might be lucky and get a photo or two. But really, that it's often just like, well, here's the trailer, and then I've been working on things where like a new trailer will drop, or like a TV spot that's like 10 seconds, and there might be something in there that you can use.
Right.
But often, even those things you're then lucky if they're in 4K. They're often not even HD, and if it's any kind of action, obviously, then it's motion blurred and So it's a lot. There's a lot more of like using your brain.
Right.
To interpret something that you know is in there, then it, I think people maybe realize that they probably, it may look like what we're doing is simply pause the trailer and just paint that frame. Mm-hmm. But what I'm always trying to do with the poster anyway is like, you want to get the right feel across, and yes, you're using certain particular frames and assets, for a good expression. But then you often have to combine it with lighting from another scene, or say a different body, and it's all about, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
Right.
That's what I love about collages.
Yes.
Like, it's creating something evocative and playing with scale. And it's about how composition is obviously so important. Like, I think a lot about how you guide the viewer's gaze around the piece and not have them. So like, if a character's like looking out of a piece, then that's going to lead, because we're going to follow people's gazes. So if someone's looking out of a poster, then you're going to follow their eyes out of it as well. So unless you have something bouncing off the other corner to bring you back in, you're going to just lose the viewer. So I think a lot about how to keep someone looking at a piece, which is obviously important for posters, but also, especially important with everyone scrolling on a mobile, because, most people are already halfway going past your thing, your artwork, right? So anything you can do in the composition to kind of trap them for a split second longer to look at it is worth a try.
I was shocked when I first kind of got what I consider my first feature film poster commission I did. I was shocked because they wanted this particular actor in the poster. They didn't want him played big, but he was their heavy hitter, so they wanted him in there. But when I asked, okay, when they supplied me assets, it was like, I think 2 photos from, not even from that production. It was from a past production, a different show he was on, and I was like, you want me to use this as a reference? In this, it was like, he's a lawyer in a suit in this show. This movie we're doing is a Western, and you want me to draw him doing like a punch. I was like, wow. So that was really a learning experience of like, wow, okay, I really have to make magic happen here. And thankfully it happened, but that was that tightrope moment for me. Yeah,
it can be very stressful, and it obviously depends on the deadline that you have as well, and sometimes those are less than generous, but you still got to kind of deliver and turn it around. But it is rewarding when you feel like you have been able to,
right.
Turn it around and do a good job with something, especially knowing that, what you were sent wasn't exactly ideal. But yeah, there's a lot of research often goes into it, and sometimes with pieces as well. If you're doing an official thing, if you have various characters in it, various actors, you might kind of mean that you have to include someone else. Or like I recently did a poster that was going to have lots of people in it, and I found out only after I'd submitted it, because only at that point was it going to go to the talent for approval, that there was one person out of this whole cast who basically wasn't going to approve any likeness. So they just don't want to, they're just out of that contract. They're not in that. But the point being that once I removed that person, I realized that I can no longer include this person because they're not primary characters. They're kind of secondary or even tertiary. So if you lose that one, then there's no point in having that person. So basically my whole composition kind of broke, and I've got to rethink it with fewer people, which I think in the end it will still work. But yeah, just one person kind of coming out, which in theory, because from their point of view, they're like, oh, can you just take out this person and resubmit it?
Right.
And I'm like, no, because you've broken the composition. Yeah. Or, by doing that, I've got to rethink it all.
Right.
Crazy.
Wow.
But equally, I guess there's a sadist part of me that I like that challenge then. It's like, I really still want to do a poster for this movie. Can I fix this? Can I keep what I liked about what I had and solve this problem so that you don't notice who isn't there? So we'll see. Yeah. I'm not, at this moment, I don't know if I'll succeed, but
yeah, it definitely makes you sharper for next time. Is there a poster, a pre-existing poster out there that if you could go back in time and be the artist who could do that poster, do you have a poster you would want to do?
No, because if you did that, then I wouldn't have that beautiful poster to enjoy.
Okay.
Like I'd have done something different, but because if you do a piece, even if in some magical way everyone else in the world felt the same way about the poster I did as compared to this other classic poster, the fact is, because I did it, I would never be happy with it.
Yeah.
So, because if you making art is basically, it's always about the next time I'm going to get it right.
Yes.
Next time it's going to be perfect. So anything you do, obviously you give it 100%, and hopefully, your clients are happy and hopefully people like it, but you will never have that satisfaction, really.
Right.
Not really.
Yeah.
Sometimes after if you look at an old piece, you've kind of forgotten the stress that you went through to make it, so you can kind of look at it almost like someone else did it.
Yeah.
You get to a certain point, and even if you feel you've evolved, you might still say, well, that still works for this reason, even if I would do this differently. But equally on a bit of a tangent to that, obviously I work digitally, but my background was in traditional painting and working in acrylics and oils a bit. So I'd like to think that I could have done some of what I'm doing if I was born, a generation before. I'm not saying I'd be in the realm of Drew or anything like that, but it was possible. There would be loads of art studios, I guess, in London, where you would basically your job would be to paint movie posters. So, in fact, I think that's what Tom Chantrell did, what he did loads of just great movie posters. It'd just be your job. So each week it'd be there's a Western, there's an epic,
right,
there's some romance, so you would just be having to churn these things out, as it were. And obviously many years later, we kind of romanticized, about certain artists and certain posters. But when those artists were working, when the industry was really just commissioning hand-painted art for everything, it was just a job, a great job, but they were up against it, to get these things out all the time. So it would have felt very different, because it wasn't about you. It didn't matter who did it. It's only later that we were able to find out who Drew Struzan was and some other artist.
Right.
Most of the time, looking at a movie poster that was painted, people didn't even think twice. In the same way now, you don't go, I wonder who photographed that. So they were just ephemera, really,
right,
just out there in the world. So, but I think that could have still been a very rewarding way to work. So I don't know. I'm saying I would have liked to have been part of that system. But there's no one particular post that I wish I'd ruined.
Yeah, I when I asked that question, I pretty much knew the answer, because I think most artists would answer the same way. I'm the same way. I want to be part of that system. I would have been happy to be able to like be in that same time as Drew. So let's go ahead and start looking at a couple of your work before we wrap up.
Yeah, and I think we're only gonna talk about a little bit of your work, obviously, but man, there is so many of your work that I'm like, just how did this even happen?
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And yeah, right here, I think if you can see Fear Street, this is probably my favorite work of yours. I think it's really hard. It's between this, and I also saw you did some stuff with David Bowie that was chef's kiss.
Thank you.
But
thank you.
with what was like, I'm just wondering what your if you had any inspiration for these Fear Street posters, because really nailed it.
Yeah,
brilliant. Well, thank you. That was so basically. So this is with Waxwork Records. So they're doing the soundtrack for the Netflix trilogy, and I started working with them because I did a poster that's in Edgar Wright's film The Sparks Brothers. So I did like a kind of Ben-Hur style poster that's actually in that movie, just for a second or two. But that Waxwork Records like worked with Edgar, and they included that in a post as a print within the Sparks Brothers soundtrack that they're doing. But through that, they kind of saw my work, and they were just happening to start work on Fear Street. And if you know the novels, basically, the novels all have these beautifully painted covers by the artist is Bill Schmidt, I think. So I did a lot of research on that. I mean, I'd seen them, but I hadn't ever read those books. I was not, the target market for that back in the day, but not quite the right age. But anyway, I went back through all those, and what they all often have like making the most of any light source, whether it's like a lamp, an interior, or the moon. And I kind of do a lot of that stuff anyway. So I love any kind of glowing light, I'm putting that in a lot of my work anyway. And the cool thing was, in this case, I was able to there was like enough photography that that Netflix were able to give me. So I had some pretty good references, or at least I was able to make a composite where I'd have a close up of a face, and then I'd have, a wider shot where I could get the clothing. And then it was about building these kind of, these little dioramas or whatever of these little scenes. And just a simple idea of like the one on the left, the girls on the left panel, because it's a triple gatefold that opens out, and on the right, the girls on the right, and in the middle, very simple device.
That's cool.
Really simple way, of just having a sort of a theme that makes them work together, right? And then just sending in rough sketches and thinking about the color palette, how they could all work together. And the point, what I really wanted to do was I wanted to pay enough homage to the original art, so you could. So anyone who knew that work was kind of get it, but also I wanted to not be doing a pure parody where I was trying to not be me. Yeah. So I think I do like these. I think they've struck a good balance of they feel like a homage, but they also, for anyone who knows my work, not that matters, that's not the important thing, but I feel like they're still my paintings, I wasn't just purely kind of emulating another artist's style. Luckily, the point is, the reason they hired me was they could see that my style was in that realm anyway. So it wasn't a million miles away. I just brought out certain characteristics more than usual, I guess, is that there's a bit more airbrush than I might use in some of my other stuff, maybe. But so that was really fun. And it was like a quick turnaround as well. It was only a few weeks, I think, that we had on this. But sometimes that, a job that kind of comes out of nowhere is very intense. But that can actually be nice because, it's done before you know it, and you just, kind of go for it.
Awesome.
I know Renee and I both looked at this on our first Street episode, and we're like, we wish this would have been the like official posters.
The vibe is just so well captured, and like you said, I think you got the perfect mix where it didn't feel exactly like those old Fear Street books, but it felt like an homage, and it felt really modern at the same time. And it was just that perfect blend of that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I appreciate that. And also, like, then the final touch that actually the Waxwork did was they added the kind of aged effects on it to make them look like they were, like book covers and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done plenty of Photoshop where, I could have worked on that, but it's also quite nice to kind of give them like, just as the original book cover artist might have, you obviously give the pristine art.
Yeah.
The colors are brighter, in my piece, and then they just dialing that down, making it look a bit faded back, and that obviously helps the aesthetic. But yeah, I can't wait. I should be getting my kind of copy of these. These have started to arrive. And obviously there's been these massive delays in the vinyl industry, but these are finally kind of getting to people now, so that's pretty exciting.
All right, the next one, have to talk about this, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, this made me so happy.
So much fun.
So was this just a personal?
Yeah, this was a personal one. And this was kind of out of, I think I did originally plan to do it for like a gallery show, like a group show where it's like, a tribute to an actor or director. But I think this was in a bit of a crossover period where I was starting to do more licensed work. So in the end, I kind of put this out as a small personal piece. I would love to do this movie in lots of different ways. This would work. In fact, having a much older piece that was more like a collage of things that happen, and, you could do it in that way. But I just had this idea of like, wouldn't it be really cool? I don't really quite know when the idea came to me, but when it did, it's like, so basically this is like all the vehicles that they travel in.
Right, yeah.
On the going across the hats, and, just with their, obviously Steve Martin looking annoyed and John Candy kind of being annoying. So yeah, just one of those. Once you have an idea like that, you just got to do it. People really responded well to this one, but it's just such a brilliant movie.
Yeah, I think you nailed
it. Just a tragedy. They lost. There's so much on the cutting room floor. Apparently.
Yes,
they just got lost.
I think it could have been a 3-hour film.
Yeah. Like that.
I would have watched it.
Yeah, there's on YouTube. There's a little mini documentary on YouTube that shares some of the some cuts that survived. And
okay. Yeah. Obviously, like anything, generally speaking, things that end up on the cutting room floor are there for a reason. But partly with John Candy no longer being with us, and it would just be great to see more of the stuff that they shot.
Yeah, John Candy. He's like one of the sweetest, most annoying characters ever, but he balances that so well where you love him so much, but you also could see Steve Martin's perspective of everything that it's like, okay, what is going on? Love that. And you captured that, like the way he's looking at Steve Martin here, it's perfect. It's just like, he's just all giddy and stuff. So love that.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Yeah. Which Renee, do you have one in here you want to?
Oh, why are you doing this?
I'm putting you on the spot.
Escape from New York.
Okay, I knew it.
I was like, I see it. It was between that and like Spider-Man, and I was like, but Escape to New York.
Yeah.
Look at that beauty.
Today it's as we're recording this, it's Kurt Russell's birthday. So
yes.
Makes sense.
Oh
yes. I had a feeling.
I felt it. I didn't know that, but I felt it. That's awesome.
Yeah, I saw saw your post today, so I was like, oh yeah. So I actually I reshared your post.
That's awesome.
For Kurt Russell's birthday. And
awesome.
Cool, thank you. Well, like I was just saying, we shouldn't be on social media too much, but I always check IMDb for the birthdays because, like, I've done so many portraits,
right?
And, it's a good way to, frankly, it's a good way to kind of get your work out there that might, you haven't shared for a while. I think people get worried about sharing work that is old, but you have to remember that, someone new might see it, or will see it, and especially if you've gained followers since last time you shared it a few years ago, then it's quite likely. So as long as you still are pleased with the piece, then why not? But yeah, this was for a gallery show, so this was like, I think Gallery 88. I think it was one of their Crazy for Cult shows. Not quite sure. I for about 6 years I did about 50 group shows, so it's a bit of a blur as to what was for what. But yeah, I just love this movie, and in this case it was like, let's do a kind of let's think of a way to include all the faces. So this is it's a classic floating head.
Yeah.
Just using the kind of radar to break it up a bit, and the
great colors.
Yeah, make the most of the red and the green.
I love how you use awesome. the analog grid lines in Kurt's face. I just love the use of the analog in it.
That's cool. That's so cool.
I think something like this. Your goal is almost like, I want people to hear the theme tune.
Yes.
If you get the atmosphere right, like, I'm not saying I've done it with this, but I'm saying that's what I'm trying to do. And I know when, I see another piece by someone that I really like, it tends to be because it kind of, it brings those things to mind. Like you can hum the theme tune when you see the artwork, so.
Yeah,
so this is kind of.
I would hope that if John Carpenter ever decided like to do a special re-release of the soundtrack on vinyl, he would reach out to you and go, "Hey, I want to use this artwork."
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how cool would that be?
This would work really well on the soundtrack because if you do the square, then obviously the radar circle would fit even better.
Right.
Although that said, I should do a shout out to Mark Aspinall. I don't know if you know his work. But he did a beautiful soundtrack with Waxwork Records maybe a couple of years ago. If you don't know that, I'd really recommend seeking it out.
Okay,
it's fantastic.
Definitely need to listen to
Yes.
that. We have to put that in the show notes. That's so cool. Is Escape from New York one of your favorite Carpenter films, if not the favorite?
Yeah, I mean,
because it is hard.
I'd say my favorite is probably The Thing.
Same here. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But
The Thing.
Equally, I really love Big Trouble in Little China in a totally different way. Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all great. I wouldn't, it'd be so hard to lose any one of them if you had to choose. But
it's that I go through the same thing where because like you said, Big Trouble in Little China is a comedy action film. The Thing is like this serious horror thriller. That I'm like, okay, I cannot choose just one.
Yeah.
We have to get all of these movies.
Yeah.
So absolutely get it. Well,
yeah, I think we did it.
We did it once again, Zach.
I think we did it again. Sam, thank you so much for humoring us and coming on to the show and talking and sharing your work.
Oh, well, no, it's been a pleasure. So, thank you for inviting me. And it's always good to talk about posters. Not necessarily just mine. It's nice to talk about.
Just mine.
It's nice to talk about.
I only talk about mine.
Yeah. It's nice to talk about the world of it, and I know that for a lot of people really want to get into it, or have a toe in and want to get further. So hopefully some of the stuff could have been of interest or of use to somebody.
Yeah.
And if not,
definitely to me. Help me out.
I was gonna say I am not the same person I was at 3:30. I am a changed man.
Yeah, you look changed. You look better.
Yes, I am.
You look healthier, René.
So, this everything you said was super interesting and insightful, and it applies to this poster world, but it even applies to like any sort of artistic world. So I think anyone and everyone who's interested in some sort of art form will gain something from this. So thank you so much, Sam.
Yeah, cool. No, that's cool. I mean, I think anyone who's making things and putting them out there, like in a lot of, it's an easy job in a lot of ways, compared to other things that we could be doing. Let's face it, But it still takes discipline and continued effort to have the sort of courage. It's courage with a small c maybe, but making stuff and putting it out there, it's not always that rewarding. A lot of the time, you hopefully get some nice reactions. For most people, it's like they're either gonna, hopefully a few people love it, then a few people might hate it, and most people just don't care one way or the other, right? So being creative, you have to try and find your way. You have to be of the kind of view that you would just be doing it anyway, whatever the reaction was, and then over time, hopefully you just grow a bit of a following, or more people find your work, and that can help you to get it out there. But you still got to come back to the fact that whenever you're staring at the blank canvas the next time, you still got that trepidation of like, oh, can I do this again? But I guess you build up a body of work and you have a bit more confidence going in. Well, I've done it 1,000 times. I can do 1,001. And over time, it's just it's that attrition. But also don't forget to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Making stuff is fun too.
Yeah, you have to be able. Yeah.
But it is a job.
Yeah, you have to be able to enjoy it. That's what makes it doable. Is you don't feel like you're working because of the amount of that you need to produce. It's all about just pumping as much as you can out there and getting better. And it's enjoyable if you're doing what you love.
Yeah, that's it. And I think the reason to go for it, if you can do it, anything creative is like, there is nothing like being lost in just the flow of it.
Yeah.
Once you've got through the emails you got to do, and once you've got your sketch figured out, and, as you descend into that like deep space of painting or whatever it is that, creatively you're doing, there's nothing like it, So that is really the reward of the hard work to get to that point. So very lucky to do that. So anyone sort of aspiring to do it, just, keep making stuff and keep getting lost in the making of it.
Yes.
And any other stuff around it, whether that's more commissions or more followers, that will be a byproduct of just you getting in the zone,
Yeah. Well, that's perfect. I think we should end on that perfect note. And
that's beautiful.
Yes. And René.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Let's count it out.
All right.
All right.
All right. Count us down.
Yeah.
We're gonna say it. We're gonna say it.
1.
Damn, you're about to witness us perfectly do this.
1, 2, 3. Podcast over.
Okay.
I'll steal it! No one will ever